Are you really committed to change? Are you really committed to your new life? That is what this week is going to kind of force us to ask ourselves and to really show up in answer through embodiment and through our actions. This past weekend has been a little weird, has been a little spacey for me personally. As an earth sign, I like to feel grounded and rooted. And with the sun on Neptune and Aries, it has been the opposite of that for me. I was just telling a friend earlier, it's like water on fire is how it has felt to me. It's a very weird, conflicting energy. This is the first time we've ever had the sun join Neptune and Aries. And I didn't know what to expect. And Neptune likes to hide from me. Neptune is not an easy planet for me to read. It is very like, ooh, I'm over here. No, I'm over there. Now I'm like, don't look this way, look that way. And it's like, that's really how this Neptune Cazimi has felt now that we're in Aries season and the sun is on conjunct Neptune. Uh, it's very spacey, very liminal energy. And this week we're going to have the sun move over Saturn, begging us to answer the question, are you really committed and disciplined to your new life? Are you really committed and disciplined to this new beginning that you say that you want, this new season, this new chapter that you have been saying that you want? Are you really committed to it? And are you really willing to do what it takes in order to move in the direction of it, even if it is completely different than what you would have done before in the old version of your life and in your past? It's really time to step in the new direction. It's really time to clear out those old cycles in a major way, in an embodied way, and really step into the new is a lot of what this week feels like as we head into the last week of March and as we get closer and closer to April, because April is go time. April is kind of nonstop moving forward. Um, and it all begins now. It truly all begins now. So, what in your life are you stepping into? Where do you have Aries in your chart? What major new beginning have you been embarking on in that area of your life, in that house, which represents your physical areas of life, for the last year, really? It's all coming to the forefront now. This is the time that we are being asked to embody it and to really move forward with this new way of living and this new chapter that we've been embarking on for the last year. There's no more looking back. We literally cannot entertain the old anymore. And it seems like this is showing up in all of the people around me in major ways, and in the collective in major ways of we cannot do what we used to do out of comfort, or out of conditioning or out of habit. We can't go back to the old. And I've been saying this for months, and it is finally here where it's like we actually physically cannot go backwards, because it's just going to be exhausting. It's just going to be a never ending. Um, I can't even talk about it because there is no going back. And a lot of us are at that point right now that we have to take this new path. We have to, like the fork in the road. We have to go in the other direction, different from where we have been. We have to keep moving forward. Um, is the major energy. And so I'm really excited for this week. I've really been looking forward to these transits for a while. We're also going to have this week Venus move over Chiron, which is going to even more so solidify in healing relationally these old wounds that we have been playing out again and again, that we can no longer continue to let fly. We can no longer play out that same play, that same show. The show's over. Season is ended. We have to put it behind us. And so that solidifies when Venus moves over Chiron. I believe it's the 28th. We'll talk about it in the individual horoscopes. What day that happens and how it's gonna show up for you based on your rising sign. Just to in general cover this, I've talked about this in other videos, but the rising sign is the most accurate because it takes into account your houses. And that's, when anyone is doing a horoscope, that's what they're looking at because the houses in your birth chart the sectors of your pie chart, if you're looking at your circle birth chart, represent the physical areas of your life. If you are a student of my Become an Astrologer course, you know and understand this. The rising sign is the foundation of how the rest of your chart works, and where we can look at how these planets and these transits and these things that are going on currently are affecting you in different areas of your life. If you're reading or watching a sun sign horoscope, they're still going off of the rising sign. You cannot do a horoscope without putting that sign on the rising. So if you're watching something for Taurus sun, they're actually going off transits for a Taurus rising. They're just calling it a sun sign horoscope. Now you can use either, depends on what resonates with you, but rising sign is the most accurate to go off of, because it again takes into account your houses, which are the physical areas of your life. And it starts with you, which is your rising sign. Your rising sign is you. Again, I walk through this more in my Become an Astrologer course and also my astrology ebook, which is included in the course if you really want to learn and understand astrology and have the tool in your tool belt of this amazing system to help you understand and predict your life. That's where I teach that. So, yeah, again, watch what resonates with you the most. Rising sign is going to be the most accurate. That's why I say rising sign and we go off rising sign. Um, is there anything else I want to say about this week before we dive into the rising sign horoscopes? Uh, I'm really excited that Mercury is now direct, but it's still with the Sun on Neptune conjunction. If you still didn't feel much of a difference when Mercury went direct on Friday, it's because we had the Sun on Neptune and Aries. Because Neptune is very early Aries right now, and so when the Sun moved into Aries, it moved over Neptune, which is called a conjunction. Again, if you're in my Become an Astrologer course, you understand the aspects and things. But yeah, that's why we might have still felt a little bit of like weird energy or Pisces energy, even though Aries season began. The Sun immediately moved over Neptune. So there was still kind of that liminal, weird, shifty, Neptunian, veily, foggy energy, and we're coming out of that. And I think we're going to have, as the sun moves over Saturn on the 25th, we're going to have a lot of sobering clarity about our new direction and what we're really doing to move forward and embody our new season and direction and chapter of life. So it's all coming together, and we're really starting to see that in major ways. If you haven't already seen that for your life or kind of understood that things are coming together, this is really where we all really start to see it in action, because we just had the solar new year. So we are in a fresh new energy, even if we're kind of blinded from seeing it at the moment because of Neptune. Again, Neptune fogs anything that it touches. So we might not see or feel, we can probably feel it, but we might not see yet what is coming or what is changing or what direction we are headed, but it is there. And as the sun starts to move away from Neptune this week, we will start to see what we are feeling. Does that make sense? Let me know how this resonated with you. Please tell me I'm not the only one that felt really weird and spacey this past weekend. Because I was like, what is going on? I thought the energy was going to be different. But sure enough, Neptune is doing its thing. So let me know in the comments. And also let me know how your horoscope resonates with you. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you based on your chart and what's going on. So let me know. We also talk deeper and more intimately about astrology, transits, your chart inside of my membership. So come join my membership. It's $15 a month. I do a group immersive class every Wednesday. And there's an open community forum as well to connect with me and connect with others who share your chart placements or just meet people who are also astrology nerds. So come join. Without further ado, I think that is all I want to say about this week before, yeah, we get into the horoscope. So, let's get into it. Aries Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your day to day. There could be an emphasis as well emotionally on communicating, on sharing your ideas, sharing information, putting things out there into the world. You could also just be social or be busy, although there might be something about that that kind of challenges getting mental clarity around something going on within your mental health or your subconscious world, that you've been reflecting on since the Mercury retrograde. There's kind of a forward momentum there, but it might be emotionally challenged Monday with something you have to do in your day to day or someone you have to talk to in your day to day. As we head into Tuesday, that emotional focus on your errands, your day to day, your communication could directly challenge something you're taking action on within your mental health. There could be this energy of just feeling emotionally frustrated, really easy to anger, and kind of not knowing where it comes from. So if you have to scream into a pillow, if you have to punch a pillow, like honor that. If you have to take a nap to like kind of reset your energy, really honor that because there's a high risk of that type of energy on Tuesday. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your home. There's also an illumination of what you're committing to, what you're becoming more and more disciplined with as it relates to this new version of yourself, a new identity that you've been stepping into. There could be a feeling of clarity. There could be a feeling of like, okay, here we go. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm moving forward. There might need to be some hermit time in order to kind of clear your inner thoughts or your inner process. There could also be Wednesday and Thursday more of a creative energy flowing as well, as the emotional focus is going to be really on your inner world, your home, your mental health, and it could really propel you into some new routine with those things or some sort of new habit. Also, Thursday and Friday, there's a lot of emphasis on healing some sort of wound, identity wound related to self-worth or values or relationships, maybe even money, and what you're doing to move forward in a new way that is like with the healed version of yourself as opposed to the unhealed version of you. Also on Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your creative projects, your passions, dating, romance as that applies. There could be some big tension between what's going on with creative pursuits or passions and some transformation that's been occurring in your long-term goals, visions, community, social media, friendships. There could be this push and pull between where you're pulled emotionally that's creative or fun and maybe something you have to kind of be a little bit more, how do I say, sober about in order to change and move forward. But it does feel like there's a lot of positive momentum and direction on, again, stepping into this new version of yourself that is way different than who you were before, with nothing from the past left to kind of deal with. It's like you're leaving it all behind and stepping into this new era, related to this new version of you that you're really embodying at this time. Saturday, still an emotional focus on your creative pursuits. It might even be something you could do at your use as an outlet is your creative things, maybe dancing, putting on good music, drawing, something related to that is going to really benefit you in moving this energy in a way that like feels better than kind of sitting in the negativity of it. And then as we end out the week on Sunday, there could be something emotionally challenging about what's going on with creativity, and what's going on with money, what's changing massively about money or possessions. There could also be a lot of harmony, though, again, between healing something with money or healing something in terms of your identity and sense of self and really being embodied in these changes and moving forward with them. And it's again, it's like channel what's coming up into something that brings you joy. It's going to help you kind of ease the heaviness of whatever is going to come up. So that is your week ahead, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you. So let me know, and I will see you next week. Hi, Taurus Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your money. There could be some things that you're just cleaning up about money, finances, possessions, maybe food even. And it could but that emotional pull to money could directly challenge what you're wanting to integrate or embody about your long-term goals, visions, or there could be some momentum towards like, okay, bringing in a new money goal as a part of what you're wanting to change about your long-term goals and visions. There's also something about money that might challenge relationships or might challenge connections, your community, social media, friendships, things like that. There's a lot of emphasis at this time on your mental health, and there's a lot of just kind of things that are being illuminated that were maybe hidden to you previously. And so there's a big need for you to deal with that as well and not kind of hide from what is coming up underneath the surface of things. On Tuesday, there could be some emotional challenge between what's going on with money or resources and what's going on with your long-term goals and visions that you're maybe wanting to take action on or move in a new direction around. There could be the potential as well on Tuesday for a little bit of kind of unresolved anger coming up. Again, it's all this kind of subconscious stuff that maybe was there in your kind of program and your conditioning that you didn't realize is still there to kind of feel and heal and kind of clear out so that it doesn't keep plaguing you underneath the surface of things. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your errands, your short distance travel, communication as well. So there could be something about whatever has been coming up with kind of unresolved anger or subconscious stuff that you're still dealing with and kind of being made more aware of at the moment. And how that's coming out in your communication style or where there's need for growth or healing that maybe hasn't been dealt with yet in a major way. There's also this big emphasis on committing yourself fully to some sort of practice or routine that's going to help take care of your mental health and help you process all this stuff that's coming up from your subconscious that you maybe you didn't even realize was still there affecting you in the ways that it is. Seems to be a big theme for you, Taurus. So there's a lot of emphasis on the middle of the week on really feeling your feelings as it relates to that. Maybe leaning on friends or community in order um to do that, to be able to really feel what is going on there so it doesn't keep repeating. Thursday, there's a big emphasis on healing wounds again that have kind of been at a subconscious level around relationships or money, self-worth, values. There's a big emphasis on kind of again clearing up the clutter in a big way, and if you're not careful, it could really come out at the wrong time with the wrong person in the wrong way. So it's kind of like, maybe be really self-aware of when you need space and when you're at your limit emotionally, especially Thursday and into Friday, even depending on where you are in the world, could really come out in unhealthy ways. So there's a big need on just giving yourself some alone time or space to be able to process what comes up in a healthy way. Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your home. So I do feel like you will be back in kind of your cave or giving yourself a little bit of hermit time that feels very needed. There could also be some tug of war between your ability to focus on home or family and what's going on with career. But again, it's like you need this time and space to kind of deal with what's going on underneath the surface and clear it out in a really major way. It could also need to spend more time with something creative that is your muse that kind of helps you work through emotional things and process it in a way that's more healthy for you than maybe taking it out on someone that you love or something like that. So that's kind of your energy as we end out the week. Sunday, there could be a big breakthrough around it. There could be a big, like, emotional purge related to what kind of has been building all week. So, yeah, and it feels like it could really solidify in a major change within your sense of self and identity moving forward, Taurus. So that's your week ahead. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you. So let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Gemini Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on you. The start of the week really feels like a big emotional renewal. Although there could be something emotionally going on with you, your appearance, your identity, your sense of self that's kind of directly challenging what's going on with career. This could be a major kind of realization of something you need to change within how you view yourself or how you present yourself in order to move forward in career with just more clarity, more visibility, maybe, and kind of being more comfortable with what you're doing and how you're doing it and being seen for doing it. There's a lot of kind of identity stuff that's being asked to how do I say, that's asking for you to integrate it for further and really believe in yourself and what you're doing. There could be something on Tuesday that triggers some maybe anger around that or just triggers some action to really move forward with this new thing in your career and really step into it. And really make a change to how you're viewing yourself or maybe even how you're talking to yourself as you're doing this. There could be something that really triggers you to kind of look deeper at what's going on within your inner world, your mental health, your mental state, how you talk to yourself, and how you communicate yourself to yourself. Like better self-talk is the theme. There could also on Tuesday be something you're realizing you need to really just discipline yourself with and embody as it relates to these long-term goals and visions that you've been stepping into and how you're making them happen and how you're taking action towards them in major ways. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your money, your resources. There could be something that you're feeling more emotionally inspired to take action on with career to bring in money in new ways. That could directly maybe challenge as well. Again, these identity shifts that you're having and stepping into, and how that maybe relates into community or long-term goals and visions. It's kind of like what do you need in order to feel more supported with what you're doing to better stick to it, to better be disciplined and committed to it. I do feel like there's things that could be challenging about Wednesday and Thursday, but also there's a lot of potential for creativity, of feeling inspired and kind of maybe channeling anything that's coming up into something that is creative. Thursday, especially, there's maybe something that could occur within community, within social media that maybe triggers you and kind of brings up money stuff or brings up things around relationships or self-worth or values, your value. It's like, how are you stepping forward into new cycles with all of that and what is coming up to kind of show you what needs to further cleanup in order to fully step more into what you're doing in a way that's really aligned for you and bracing you for this big overhaul and change that has been building for you for the past year almost, and is really in the stages of finally coming to fruition. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your communication, your day-to-day errands, who you talk to, where you go on a daily basis. There's maybe a need for you to bring more joy to that, bring more joy to your day-to-day. It also could put tension on a belief system or a perspective, a way that you view life or a way that you have been viewing life, so that you make a change. There's a big emphasis Friday on your belief systems. What ones just don't feel good to you anymore? How can you shed them? How can you let them go in order to fully more step into this new direction? Saturday, there's a lot of momentum towards like creating something, taking action on something. Again, there's a lot of inspiration that's available for you over the weekend, maybe due to what you're realizing needs to shift or needs to change. And then as we end out the week on Sunday, there could be this big breakthrough moment. There could be this big kind of something that is challenging or conflicting, but it propels you to evolve and grow in ways that are needed in order to move forward with what you're doing and maybe have more harmony with how you're sharing your ideas and communicating to community, to you, to who you are here to serve, maybe on social media. And it's kind of like an aha moment. Like it all comes together and it all starts to make sense as we end out the week. So that is your week ahead, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Cancer Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your subconscious, on your inner world. And it's kind of challenging to your belief system or what's going on that's changing about your perspective of life. maybe your spiritual practices as well, or maybe school, or long distance travel, international travel. There's something you've gotten a lot of clarity around as it relates to that area of your life. But on Monday and at the start of the week, it could feel like there's an emotional challenge towards it. There's something that's directly conflicting your ability to move in this new direction or take action on it. Um, that's kind of coming from your subconscious. It's really this kind of inner belief system or this inner self-talk that maybe is has been sabotaging what you want to do or what you want to step into and move forward with. And so there's a big need for you to look at that and really reframe any self-talk that's negative into self-talk that's positive and encouraging. Especially on Tuesday, there could be something really major that happens emotionally within your inner world, within your mental health, that directly challenges what you're taking action on changing about your perspective of life or your belief systems. As we get into Wednesday, there's this sense of emotional renewal. There could be a lot of emotional clarity coming in as well as we get later into the week around how you need to better support yourself. Who takes care of you? Who puts you at the forefront of their consideration? That's kind of the energy. And again, it's all about this perspective shift and really choosing to see yourself and your life differently than you have been before and stepping into these new embodiment themes around that. There could also be something Tuesday or Wednesday that comes up around career and needing to really discipline yourself and commit yourself to a major new chapter with that. That could be further brought up on Wednesday of like feeling emotionally challenged, and from being able to do that because there's this sense of like, okay, well, I've been neglecting myself in order to do this, so how can I have more balance with it, right? What needs to change and evolve? Thursday, there's a big emotional expansion in terms of you, your sense of self, your identity, and what you're taking action on in terms of changing your perspective or spiritual practices that you really need to be more disciplined with. And again, like having this balance of what you do on in your external life and also how you take care of yourself when you're not do, go, 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 work, right? How do you nourish and recharge your battery? So there's a lot of focus on that as well as maybe something about career or reputation being triggered when it comes to old wounds around relationships or self-worth or values or money. There's something that could kind of come up around that that's triggered in order for you to fully shift that as well, in alignment with where you're headed with everything. Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your money, your possessions, and kind of adds tension to what's been changing about your psyche, your inner world. You maybe even shared resources as well. There's a lot that's been transforming underneath the surface for you. And on Friday, there's some sort of emotional tension that's added to that. That again kind of really propels you into this major change with what you're doing, and emotionally is more supportive for where you're headed. And where you're going versus where you have been. It's like time to step out of the old patterns, and fully embrace the new and make them habits. More focus around that on Saturday, especially with career and what's going on with that. There's a lot of emotional support towards what you're doing with career and what you're stepping into. And on Sunday, as we end out the week, there's even more of that support, but there could be something that's challenged about that's challenging about money or in long-term goals or visions that you get more clarity around. There's like this sense of a breakthrough of how to navigate both those areas of your life in a different way. Could also be how you're showing up to social media or with community, wanting to serve with your gifts. Again, very career-based stuff here as well, but it all kind of solidifies. And as we end out the week, there's a lot more feeling aligned with what you're doing, and kind of knowing how to move forward. Uh, Kind of more having all the pieces of the puzzle than you have before. So that's how we end out your week, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. Love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you. So let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Leo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your long-term goals, visions, community. It is directly challenging shared resources and also what's going on in your inner world, your psyche. So there could be some things that just feel a little bit emotionally challenging of like, how do I go about this or how do I move forward with this? But it's really this push and pull this week, right? Of like feeling challenged, but also the challenges are what propel you to evolve how you've been going about what you're doing. And you start to see there's more of this clarity from hindsight of what's changing and what you're moving forward with that actually feels better for you, even if it was, if it's different than what you thought or very unknown from what the known is for you in your life. Tuesday, there's kind of maybe some big thing that comes up that feels challenging emotionally, maybe with community or with social media or with long-term goals and visions. But again, it propels you to evolve. There's also this sense of, okay, I really need to commit myself to this. Could be a perspective or a spiritual practice, or maybe going back to school or investing in some sort of education for yourself to step into more easily this long-term direction that's actually better for you and aligned with what you want to do versus where you have been that maybe felt comfortable. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your inner world and directly challenges your belief system, directly challenges your perspective, and kind of calls for you to see things differently. There could be this sense of wanting to hermit in order to really emotionally process what's coming up Wednesday, Thursday, and even into Friday, a little bit of like needing to really emotionally process things. There could be big emotional releases, but I do feel that could propel you into this new chapter with greater clarity, with more embodiment. And there could be some emotional inspiration or like creative inspiration that comes from this as well, around what you're doing, especially on Thursday. And then as we get into Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto you. There's a sense of emotional renewal, and there's also a remembrance. What do you need to do that brings more joy to your life? That feels more fun for you moving forward. There's this big moment Thursday, Friday of needing to heal something major with identity, with relationships, with your self-worth, with values, with money, maybe even, and really recommitting yourself to joy and what you actually love to do. And there could be something about that Friday that puts tension on what's changing within relationships. And really again, giving you more clarity on, does this person in my life, like, is it joyful? No? Okay, it needs to go, right? It's all giving you more clarity this week on kind of just the finishing touches on everything and how to move forward with more alignment. Especially on Sunday, there could be this sense of emotional breakthrough between you and what's going on with career. And by the time that we get later into Sunday, there's a sense of like, okay, here's what I'm doing, how I'm going about it. Even, it's like making the most of the challenges this week and seeing them as things that are here to help you evolve and grow and move in a new direction that's more aligned for you. So that's your week ahead, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you. So let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Virgo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your career. There could be something about that that's challenging a relationship, as well, or a new direction you're wanting to head with relationships in general or with other people in your life. Maybe you're really busy with work and career, and it kind of, a little bit puts a relationship something on the back burner, but it is supporting a positive evolution with work and with career. There's a lot of momentum towards those areas of your life right now that is positive, that is supporting you and your financial goals, your long-term goals, and just like more joy with what you're doing and how you're going about doing it. That could, though, on Tuesday maybe create some emotional tension again, or conflicts between career and relationships. You might need to take some space, or there could be this kind of like a blow up within a person in your life, maybe related to what's going on with career or work or something like that, that maybe gives you a lot more clarity on how you want to go about working with this person or around this person. It might kind of bring up in you maybe that you need some space or something in order to kind of work through it emotionally and really get more clarity on what you want to do and how you want to go about this next chapter and the changes that you're implementing. There's also something on Tuesday about this sobering moment with shared resources, with your inner psyche, with maybe dealing with a lot of like subconscious and under the surface psychological healing, maybe through trauma, and really clearing that out more fully ever than before. And that could really support going about this work challenge, this relationship challenge differently than you would have in the past. There's a lot of solidifying in of a new identity as it relates to like your inner foundations, your energetics at the start of this week. And there's really kind of this feeling of peace maybe within your inner world that there has never been before because you've really gone deep into the inner healing. And as we get into Wednesday, there could be something about that that is challenged through maybe your community, your long-term goals, visions, maybe social media. There's kind of this emotional pull to that area of your life that's directly challenging what's going on with shared resources or with your inner healing. But it is again all forcing you to kind of look at things differently and evolve in ways that are needed. And it could propel a lot of emotional support through people in your life, like maybe some relationships are challenging, but you have support in through other relationships and connections that are helping you move through the challenging stuff. So there is a lot of emotional support and like helpful healing conversations you're able to have with supportive people in your life as well, when things come up this week that do feel challenging. Thursday, especially, there could be something really triggering within money or within relationships or self-worth or values, that kind of again really triggers some old some old version of you that you're like, wait, I'm not that person anymore. And further is a cleanup for that old version of you. So you embody the new really more cohesively than ever before. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your subconscious, your mental health. It kind of puts tension on work, what's going on with work or health, like physical health. There's this push and pull between work, between your routine, between your physical health, and what you're pulled to emotionally with emotional health, right? So there's kind of this sense of needing to not neglect your mental health or not neglect your emotional health. Maybe you need to have a good cry or something, or like do a workout in order to push emotions through so that you don't neglect either part of yourself, as we get into the weekend. Because it does feel like there's a lot more hustle and bustle, there's a lot more busyness in your everyday life, and it's just important you don't forget your kind of practices that help you ground, and help you when things do feel and get a little bit chaotic. And then as we head into Sunday, there is this sense of emotional breakthrough, and kind of coming out of a fog or just really starting to see yourself, the world around you, what you're doing, where you're headed, where you're going a lot differently, than you ever have before. And you come out at the end of the week, the other side of this of like, there might be there's a sense of emotional renewal and there might be a further sense of emotional purging or release, but it is like a full cleansing that you feel as we end out this week. So that's your week ahead, Virgo. Let me know how it resonates with you in the comments. Love to hear from y'all on how accurate these are for you. So let me know, and I will see you next week. Hi, Libra Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your perspective, um, on your belief systems, on your spiritual practices. There could be something about that that is directly challenging what's going on with work or what's going on with your routine. There could be a sudden sense of like feeling really busy and feeling like your health is being neglected, or what you want to do creatively with work is being neglected. And so there's kind of this sense of what do I need to change or evolve in order to not fall off from things I want to do or neglect parts of me that really need nourished, during this time. And there could be something on Tuesday that kind of triggers you into action around that. There could also be some, maybe stay off social media. If you have like a social media job on Tuesday, it feels like there could be some aggression or projection directed at you. Um, it might be a little bit of an emotionally aggressive day. There could be a lot of just, I don't know, crazy comments or something like floating around. from people. But again, it's kind of like don't internalize it. Um, you've done so much work to change your perspective of how you view yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how that shows up in your day to day. So don't let it, affect you too much. There is also on Tuesday a sense of sobering clarity within a relationship of, okay, what do I need to actually commit to, or what can I actually commit to when it comes to relationships, and what's going on with that, and maybe needing to just kind of be firm with some boundaries. There's also a sense this whole week building of like major healing within relationships, around self-worth, around maybe money, around values and how you connect with other people and kind of what types of people you actually want around you and stepping into a major new identity with all of that. Um, Maybe a sense of a newfound sense of independence within relationships as well. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your career, your reputation, your public image. There could be a lot that you're doing or creating or feeling inspired to put out there, into the world, but that could directly challenge what's going on with relationships as well, or your ability to focus on relationships. So there's this sense of, okay, how do I navigate all of this and how do I structure it or balance it all so that it doesn't feel like one area is getting neglected? Because there's a lot of potential for inspiration and creation within work and within what you're building, as part of your career and reputation that's new. And it's kind of like don't let relationships take away from that too much. Especially Thursday. There could be something really massively emotionally triggering within a connection or a relationship in general. That kind of brings up how you want to evolve, how you structure or show up in both of those areas of your life, relationships and career and work. But there's a lot of like creative, inspiration towards work and what you're doing. As we head into Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your long-term goals and visions. Where there was challenge between relationships and career, there's all of a sudden a lot more harmony as we get into the weekend with where you're headed long term, and what's going on with relationships. But that could put tension on some sort of creative passion or project as well. So again, this week very much feels like a theme of how do I juggle all of this, that's happening all at once for me out of nowhere. And balance is your thing, Libra. So it's kind of like don't be too hard on yourself to like perfect a balance. There is no perfect balance, but there could just be maybe some insights on how to evolve how much time you're spending on one certain thing, so that it doesn't bleed into or take away from time spent on other things. Does that make sense? Saturday, that continues. It feels like there's a lot of positive momentum towards community, friendships, relationships, and maybe attracting very healing people for you at this time as well that are supporting where you're headed. Early on Sunday, there feels like an emotional breakthrough between what's going on with long-term goals, visions, and money, shared resources, debt, taxes, investments. There's this sense of emotional clarity through some sort of challenge in those two areas. And just kind of on what brings you joy about what you want to do moving forward long term versus what doesn't. And then later on Sunday, that could kind of bring up or trigger an emotional release. It feels like there's this underlying sense of looking at your mental health in a new way or subconscious processing, to clear out some things emotionally that maybe you just didn't have time for earlier in the week. So that's how we end out your week, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. Love to hear from y'all and how accurate these are for your life. So let me know, and I will see you next week. Hi, Scorpio Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your inner psyche, shared resources as well. You might be feeling more intuitive or more like tuned in. There's this big emotional focus on your inner psyche, your intuition, as well as like shared resources and money that could directly challenge what's going on with creative passions or projects or children, as well as dating or romance if it applies. There's kind of tension between those two areas. There's challenges that are coming up, in terms of like, okay, how do I really navigate moving forward with this? I've gotten the clarity. Now, what do I actually do? What do I implement in my physical reality to make the changes I want, in the ways that I want them? And there could be on Tuesday something about that that really is, really calls for you to take action on. There is a little, uh, how do I say, a little warning of like, emotional aggression on Tuesday. Maybe you need to punch a pillow or scream into a pillow or take a nap in order to really change like your emotional state because it does feel like there's things that could really frustrate you, kind of out of nowhere. But it is propelling you to evolve, right? And change what you need in order to be more in alignment. Also on Tuesday, there's this sense of you need to discipline yourself and commit yourself to this new chapter with work or with your physical health, and really be embodied in it, really be like on it, or it's just going to keep causing these problems that you know it's causing. Um, and so it's like, okay, you really have to, there's no more putting it off. There's a sense of like, I'm doing this and I have to do it now, and I can't ignore it anymore. As we get into Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your perspective of life and directly challenges what's going on with work, what's going on with, your physical health. Again, kind of propelling you into this sense of like, I have to view this differently. I have to really be disciplined to this and committed to this because I can't keep going about it the way I have been. It's not going to work for me anymore. And there's a big sense of lightness that comes from that. There's a big sense of like emotional clarity, maybe even inspiration, that comes from that as well. Maybe this kind of creativity or, yeah, it just feels like your motivation becomes renewed, especially Wednesday and Thursday. But Thursday, later on Thursday, there could be something about your perspective shift or what's changing about your spiritual practices, or something you're investing in to kind of change your perspective on life is directly challenging what's going on with work, or what's going on with your physical health. And again, it's all propelling you to evolve in major ways, and to kind of just do a further cleanup of what needs to change. There could be some emotional triggers that come up as well, maybe through work or about your health or through your health, that again propel you to really make some necessary changes that are going to benefit you moving forward. Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your career, adds tension to what's changing about your home. There could be kind of this tug of war between work, career, and what's going on with home. But the major focus is on work and career. It's on like, what are you building? What have you committed yourself to, with a new direction in terms of all of that? And how can you just really be disciplined with taking the action on it that needs to be taken around it? This continues into Saturday. There could be something, as well that comes up around needing to bring more joy to what you're doing with career or something around that, something along those lines of like needing to embody more joy or fun or creativity with what you're doing and how you're moving forward with this in this new chapter of your life. And then into Sunday, early Sunday, there could be a big breakthrough around that, maybe from somebody in your life or about relationships in general, and how career and relationships are kind of tied together for you in some ways. There could be a really big breakthrough that comes, and then it's like, okay, here's what I do about this. Like it just feels like an aha moment as we end out the week. And then, later on Sunday, there's actual steps you're putting into place of like getting everything situated of what to do, and how to do it. So that is your week ahead, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Sagittarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your relationships. There could be something you're realizing needs to really change within dynamics with the people around you, with maybe even where you go, who you talk to on a daily basis, or where you kind of take trips to, or whatever. There's a big emotional focus on other people in your life and maybe talking things through in major ways with those people, in order to get more clarity on what to change about your connections as a whole. That could challenge whatever's going on with your home, as well. There could be some challenges because of relationships, with home or family in some way at the start of the week. And on Tuesday, there could be some some potential for like aggression with home or family, that is also emotionally challenging within relationships. It's kind of like, just I don't know, pick your battles. There could be some emotional aggression on Tuesday, some definitely some possibility for that. Um, as we get into Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your resources, your debt, taxes, investments, also your inner psyche. So there could be some, um, how do I say, like underneath the surface healing, subconscious healing, childhood trauma healing that happens because of what was going on with relationships earlier in the week. There could be this really big energetic cleanup that happens, and a lot of emotional healing underneath the surface that's going on for you. But it could directly challenge what's going on with creativity, what's going on with dating or romance. At the same time, it's kind of like, okay, well, I really need to like cry, but I also have to show up to work, or I have to show up and do this. Like there's kind of this push and pull. And so it's important you just kind of give yourself space to honor and nurture both those parts of yourself and those both those needs, even though they're very differing from each other. And that could propel you to gain clarity on what to change about your creative projects or dating in general. But it feels like there's a big need to really like there's a sobering moment on Wednesday about relationships, Tuesday into Wednesday about dating or romance or creativity. There's something really sobering of like, okay, this is what I'm stepping into. This is the identity I choose to align with as opposed to the old version of me. So there's a lot of major healing happening for you this week, especially Thursday and Friday. There's these wounds that come up that you are handling much differently than past you would have handled them. And so, yeah, there's this sense of solidifying in a new identity and moving forward with it. Um, that continues on Friday. There might be a lot of creative inspiration from whatever this is for you all week as well. Like there's this moments of wanting to bring it into work or wanting to teach it or wanting to like do creative things with what these breakthroughs are helping you to realize about yourself and your life moving forward. Saturday, the emotional focus shifts onto your perspective. Late Friday and into Saturday, there's a big emotional focus on your perspective of life and needing to bring more joy into your everyday. And that could put tension on what's changing about your communication, what's changing about your everyday routines, who you go, where you go, who you talk to on a daily basis. There's this kind of need maybe to look at things in a lens of, okay, is this joyful to be around? Is this joyful for me to visit or go to every week or every day or whatever it is? Like, does this bring me joy, right? And kind of doing a cleanup um, around that with that focus, that perspective, so that you are more creatively fueled. Because, like I said, there's a lot of potential for that this week and on creativity if you're eh, not staying stuck in things that have felt sticky to you. If you're choosing to like rise out of them, of the old patterns, there's a lot of positive healing and inspiration that comes through that and from that, especially as we end out the week. And on Sunday, there could be some big breakthrough emotionally with your perspective of life and what's changing about work or your health. It could really propel you into a positive evolution that maybe you bring into work, like I was saying. So that is your week ahead, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. Love to hear from you on how accurate these are for you. So let me know, and I will see you next week. Hi, Capricorn Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your work, your physical health, your routine, your schedule. There could be something about that that emotionally is challenging, what you're changing about your communication style or how you're sharing ideas and information. There could be a lot of breakthroughs of what needs to change about how you go about saying things or communicating things or sharing ideas, especially creatively or spiritually. And on Tuesday, there's a big focus on taking action to evolve something massively. There could also be, just pick your battles. There could be some emotional aggression like happening around you or happening with work or maybe where you have to run an errand. There's just kind of a little bit of potential for chaos or aggression. So just pick your battles, drive slow. Don't get in fights with anybody. It kind of feels like that energy. Um, but there also is on Tuesday this big kind of sense of committing yourself to a new identity when it comes to your inner foundations, maybe related to home or family as well, and really stepping into this new identity in a really bold way that's going to support you moving forward with what you're wanting to do and how you're wanting to do it. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts into your relationships, other people in your life. It supports your communication. There could be a lot of supportive people coming in for you at this time to really help you with where you're headed and where you're going. There could also be a lot of healing that comes through those people, and just having emotional support through the people around you at this time is really helpful for you. Maybe especially Thursday, there's a sense of like feeling really good emotionally with the people you have around you and where you're going on a daily basis. Maybe also, what you're creating, what you're putting out and sharing to the world as well. Another energy on Thursday is this kind of there could be wounds brought up around relationships or money, self-worth, values, but they're old wounds, and it feels like that. It feels like a past version of yourself would have really handled that, whatever comes up, a lot differently, but you're not that person anymore. And so there's a further solidification and embodiment, integration in of who you have become versus who you were. That's not you anymore. Friday could also really show you that as well. There's something that may be emotionally challenging that could take place with a relationship, somebody in your life, and what's going on with home or family as well. But again, it's like all the emotional challenges that happen this week are kind of showing you how far you've grown and maybe just doing some further cleanup work on what needs to evolve or change to really solidify in this new chapter and beginning. Later on Friday, the emotional focus shifts into your inner psyche, your shared resources, debt, taxes, investments, and puts tension on what's changing about your money. So there could be something you're realizing you want to clean up about money or debt, or anything related to that, and kind of like, okay, this is actually going to bring me more joy to clean this up and to handle this differently than I have been before. Could bring in home or family as well. Sunday, there's a big breakthrough as it relates to your shared resources, your inner psyche, and what's going on with creativity, or maybe what's going on with dating or romance. It's kind of like this big moment that feels challenging, but also it's like a birth. Like there's a big evolution and moment for growth that comes from whatever is emotionally challenging early on Sunday in both of those areas of your life. Could also propel you into some idea that's really creative in nature. Um, and as we end out the week, there's this sense of emotional release around that and really kind of what to do about all that you've gotten clarity around and want to move forward with. So that's how we end out your week, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Aquarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your creativity, your passions, as well as dating or romance. There could be something about that area of your life that directly challenges what's going on with money. Maybe what new direction you're wanting to head with money, or what mental clarity you got with resources, money, possessions, over the Mercury retrograde. There could be this sense of like, okay, now what do I do with this, or how do I evolve this in ways that feel good to me? Tuesday, pick your battles Tuesday because there really feels like there could be this chaotic sense of emotional aggression around money. This could be an internal sense of just not feeling happy with what's going on with money or creativity and wanting to do it a lot differently than you have been. There's a sense of like through that challenge and through that conflict, you evolve it in a way that's actually going to benefit you moving forward. Tuesday and into Wednesday, there's this sense of sobering clarity of what you need to commit yourself to as it relates to where you're going on a daily basis, who you're talking to, like your day-to-day routines. What do you actually need to be doing and taking action on every single day to build this new life for yourself? Is this creating content on social media, sharing your ideas and information? Like what needs to really be a discipline action that you have in your life to move forward with the things you want to change about your life. Also on Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your day-to-day work. Your physical health. So there could also be a lot of emotional clarity around what needs to change within your routine or within your schedule to really have this life that you're building that feels a lot more aligned for you moving forward. And on Thursday, there's a sense of emotional expansion with work as well as just your routine in general. So there could be things you're really intuitively implementing that feel a lot better for you. Although it could challenge something about communication or needing to set boundaries with certain people. It does positively benefit your work, your routine, your health, and your money. Friday, Friday, there's something as well about communication or boundaries that could be triggering, maybe a neighbor or a conversation you have to have with someone you normally talk to all the time. There's this sense of needing to kind of be firm with boundaries, because it comes from a place of self-worth, comes from a place of like, I value myself. And so just don't let old you handle triggers. Like how does new you handle triggers with those things? Feels like a big theme Thursday into Friday. And then later on Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your relationships, but it puts tension on what's changing about you. So there could be this sense of if you're spending time around people that don't bring you joy, like needing to really just be honest and weed those people out. Be honest with yourself and be honest with those people of like, this doesn't bring me joy anymore. I need to move on from this connection or whatever it is because you're changing so much. I imagine the people around you are also changing. And if they're not, then you need to change who is around you. And so there's a big sense of emotional clarity around that as we end out the week. And just what you need to do about it, how you need to handle it. There's a lot more like, okay, this is what I do about this. And as we end out the week on Sunday, there could be something emotionally challenging about a relationship and what's going on with home or family. But again, it propels you. All these challenges that happen all week propel you into a better evolution. Um, that's actually more aligned for you and where you're headed and what you're doing and where you're going. So, it's challenging in the moment to deal with, but ultimately it's better for you in the long run. It forces you to evolve in certain ways that were necessary to your growth and to this new beginning and direction. And we kind of end out the week with that sense of like a breakthrough around that and how to move forward that in a way that feels embodied and aligned for you. So that is your week ahead, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Pisces Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your home and family. There might be something about home or family that's directly challenging what's changing with you, what's changing with your appearance or your identity, your sense of self, and what you've really gotten a lot of clarity around as it relates to how you're sharing yourself with the rest of the world, how you're communicating yourself from a new place. There's also a big sense this week, especially Tuesday and into Wednesday, of this is what I need to discipline myself to or commit myself to with money, with possessions, with my self-worth in order to have more cohesion with this new identity, sense of self, and beginning that you're stepping into. There could as well on Tuesday be something a little bit emotionally triggering between you and what's going on with home or family, but it is going to kind of force you to evolve and grow in ways that are necessary, have better balance or harmony with those two areas of your life. Wednesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your creativity. It feels like whatever was challenging at the start of the week, it kind of fuels you. Kind of could fuel a lot of creativity, could fuel a lot of what you want to share, what you want to do moving forward, and more of that new direction that you're headed. There's a sense of cohesion with everything. There's a sense of like, okay, here we go, of equilibrium. There could also be something on Thursday around that, just feeling really emotionally supported with what you're doing, where you're going, where you're headed, especially creatively or spiritually. There could also be something a little triggering with money that maybe brings up self-worth or something with relationships. But it's just kind of a remembrance of an old version of you, and it's important you don't let yourself get swept up in the how old you would handle it, and that you choose the new version of you that's moving forward that has a healed relationship with these things. Does that make sense? Then we get into Friday, and there's just some emotional tension between um, what's going on with creative passions and what's going on with money. There could be this little voice of self-doubt, but again, don't operate with this from your past version of you, right? How does new you handle this? Um, then later on Friday, the emotional focus shifts onto your work, your physical health. There's a sense of bringing more joy into what you're doing. There's a sense of lightness as well, with what you're doing and how you're doing it. Although that could put a little tension on your mental health. So there's something that maybe just needs to be processed emotionally with mental health and physical health in order to have better balance. But I really feel like it all comes down to what are you doing on a daily basis that brings you a lot of joy, and how can you bring more of that into your focal point and really don't neglect it. Because it kind of keeps you neglecting joy keeps you in these old patterns, right? So we can't do that anymore. And there's a really, how do I say, like embodiment or clicking in of that knowing as we end out the week on Sunday. There's a lot of emotional support towards just bringing more joy into your everyday life, and it probably making you a lot more money than you would have had you not been doing what you're doing joyfully, right? There could be this really big sense of a breakthrough as well around communication or your routine, your schedule, and how to kind of, again, just bring more joy. I feel like a broken record saying that so much, but that's really the breakthrough that comes in by the end of the week. And then later on Sunday, it's kind of like, what do I do structurally to make this happen and make it more solid, so that I don't get swept away from it again. So that is your week ahead, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right. Next week. Oh, we begin April. There could be, we begin April. April begins. There could be a sense of just big breakthroughs as we start out next week and really moving forward with new things. There's a big sense as well as transformation with our values, our money, our relationships, and our self-worth and greater embodiment with all of those things and really moving into a new direction. Um, with a solid foundation grounded in this new version of ourselves, right? And that's how we start April. That's really the energy at the start of April is like, okay, here we go. Um, I am a different version of me than I was even at the beginning of the year or even like a month ago. And so here's how I'm handling these things. And moving forward in this new direction that feels a lot more aligned than anything I was doing prior to this, right? So that's the energy as we start April and as we head into next week. We have the moon moving through Virgo, opposite everything in Pisces, kind of testing our faith a little bit. And then we're gonna have everything in Aries being opposed by the moon in Libra. Again, kind of testing our faith. Are we really disciplined to where we're headed versus where we have been, especially in relationships? I feel like there could be a lot of people realizing certain relationships that kind of have been like, okay, I don't think this is aligned, but we've been sticking with it because for whatever reason. There could be a lot of breakthroughs around that the first week of April. Um, of really what kinds of people we need to let go of in our lives so we can move forward in ways that actually feel better and more beneficial. It's just the kind of, further cleanup stuff that happens when we're all in a big transition as we are right now in our society. So, yeah, that is next week. I'll see you in that video. Thanks for watching. Let me know how this resonated with you in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.